Good morning. How are you? Okay, good. So we start the day with setting right motivation. If possible, set the altruistic motivation. Just simply expressing from depth of your heart, may my life be, may my entire existence, entire life, entire this very day, entire this very session, entire this very moment, be complete cause for from the temporary happiness up to the everlasting happiness of full enlightenment in every single sentient being. So for that purpose, then I will settle my heart here, to not just to hear new words, not just to get new words, not just to get some new ideas or new information, but to gain some realizations in your heart, through just being present here with the right intention, to gain the inner transformation, the mind transformation, the realization of the very stable changes, it happens in our heart, and not just occasional temporary changes. That the changes is not just happens when there is a Dharma environment, when there is environment of holy objects, environment of positive people around, positive energy around, but the changes that one can able to bring, within the self, be part of self in any situation in samsaric life, especially that changes can be one of the most powerful guidance and guard, assistant to yourself whenever individual faces challenges in our life, physical challenges, mental, emotional challenges, so that we can use that either as a guide, either as a guard, either as a servant, attendant. So how wonderful to bring one attendant together, So sometimes you can ask the attendant to carry your bag if you want to. So you can. So basically, what I'm saying is, from this day, from your effort of being here, try to achieve at least some portion of your mind to be serviceable for you. It's just some portion of mind. So as we discussed yesterday, like assigning the portion of mind as a mindfulness and introspection, as a what you call the protector of your three doors, body, speech, and mind. Both experiencing suffering as well as creating cause of suffering. So this mind of mindfulness and mind of introspection, assigning the portion of one portion of mind as a mindfulness, one portion of mind as a introspection to always protect your three doors. Three doors: your body, speech, and mind. Experiencing suffering, experiencing difficulty in life, and at the same time, protecting from three doors to commit the causes for future sufferings. So, if we're able to do that, then at least 2 portions of our mind able to bring into service able to you. You see, so then you have a very, very good 2 attendants. One can carry your coffee, one can carry your bag. So you can focus on driving. so like that. so this is I think this is the objective. I think why all of us here. And with the intention to achieve this will make a lot of difference. To actualize this purpose. So otherwise, especially in today's world, the internet world, isn't it? You can say that digital world. Information you can just can obtain so easily. You can have one TV screen in front of you, and popcorn on your table. A nice, what do you call, cocktail? or juice, or Coca-Cola, whatever. Then you can open your iPad, you can open your computer, The abundance of information is there. So if we the purpose of we coming together is to get more information, then maybe it's the wrong place. Then especially, to get more information from person like me, so someone who can, who know limited words and limited knowledge. And I think even the age is not really fully matured yet, both through experience, and there's still a long way to go, you see. And even in the ordinary life, definitely you all have much more experience than me, and even from an educational level, I think most of you could be like doctors, lawyers, engineer, very high education status. I'm nobody. And I come from one small hole of the rock of Himalaya, you see, and facing down towards you and try to, say something, and information-wise, you can't gain anything. Yeah, but then by the collective right intention of myself, the right intention of the organization, the right intention of you. So all this come together. If we motivate or take as an objective to achieve the transformation in our heart, and that is possible, and that is very meaningful, and that is worthwhile, and that is not easy to get it done. So, like that. Okay? Okay, so now our subject is on Buddha nature, and yesterday just said what is Buddha nature, then after that I went into all the delusional mind, explaining all the characteristics of delusional mind, so I didn't really get a chance to answer that. So Buddha nature can be, can present in a two aspect: the conventional Buddha nature and ultimate Buddha nature. The conventional Buddha nature is simply the fundamental our consciousness, which is the cognitive power. So that is the conventional Buddha nature, and that cognitive power, that consciousness, that what we have, what the ants and cockroach has, no different than what Buddha has. You see, so therefore that makes for us to confirm that Buddha exists within. And then the ultimate Buddha nature is referring to the lack of intrinsic existence of that cognitive mind, of that fundamental consciousness. So that is the ultimate Buddha nature. Then again, the lack of intrinsic or lack of inherent consciousness of ours, or the cognitive of ours, is no different than the lack of intrinsic nature of the omniscient mind of the Buddha. So therefore, both conventionally and ultimately, the nature, our fundamental nature our fundamental nature is no different than the Buddha's. Therefore, we can say that what you call the Buddha is within, and therefore Buddha is within, like that. So now, the only difference is Buddha's consciousness, Buddha's cognitive mind is totally free of obscuration of defilements, and ours is obscured by defilements and delusions. When Shakyamuni Buddha, before he obtained in the state of full enlightenment, his mind, his consciousness is exactly similar like us. But then through the application of wisdom and method, that makes Buddha himself, Siddhartha himself, to actualize the absolute, the awakening state of Buddha nature. And that moment he was awakened, and that moment he was called as a Buddha. So the conventional Buddha nature, to awaken the conventional Buddha nature within us has to be actualized through the application of methods, like such as developing virtuous minds such as loving kindness, compassion, and conventional bodhicitta. That make us to get fully awakened of our obscure conventional mind, the cognitive mind. So even though our mind, the nature is cognitive, but then unable to cognize the entire qualities, the potential of our state of mind, which is including the omniscient state of mind, is due to the obscurations of defilement, and that defilement can only be able to eliminate through the accumulation of virtuous mind, accumulation of virtuous mind such as loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. And that loving kindness, compassion will evolve, develop into bodhicitta, and that bodhicitta eventually would develop into omniscient state, omniscient state of the Buddha's mind. So the ultimate what's the nature of our mind, has to actualize the state of fully purified, absolute purified state, which is the state of Buddhahood, and that has to be obtained through the purification of the two defilements, obscuration to nirvana and obscuration to omniscient. And that defilements can be only purified through the wisdom, wisdom realizing selflessness, wisdom realizing selflessness of phenomena, emptiness. So the emptiness mind, the greater the emptiness mind develops, the greater the defilements are purified, and the wisdom, increases up to the awakening state of the omniscient nature. The awakening state of the fully purified state of the Buddha nature. Yes, fully purified. Fully purified state of Buddha nature. So there's there's one term that I saw. So the nature body free of the defilement of inherent existence is the state of the Buddha nature, the ultimate Buddha nature within the existence in the state of enlightenment. You see, the true body the true nature of the body of the Buddha, which is free of the defilement of the inherent existence. Then the conventional state of the true nature of the Buddha, the conventional true nature of the Buddha is free of adventitious, correct word?
Yes.
Adventitious defilement. Adventitious defilement. Adventitious defilement. Okay. So you see now. So these two states, the absolute state of enlightenment has to be achieved through the purification of the defilement of inherent existence and purification of the defilement of the adventitious defilement. Like that. So due to this, then is a necessity. That comes the importance of knowing the negations. In order to achieve the freedom, the state of enlightenment has to be achieved through negating all the adventitious defilements and the inherent defilement of the inherent existence. So how the defilement of inherent existence able to purify is through the purification of the adventitious defilement. See, by purifying the adventitious defilements, bring the simultaneous effect of purifying the inherent defilement of inherent existence. You see, so when the practitioner, come to a state that total eradication of entire, delusions, entire obscurations, when the practitioner achieve the state of omniscient state, and then naturally, the defilement of inherent existence is naturally purified. You see, you get it? Okay, very good, wonderful. Okay, so therefore, we have no choice, but we still have to discuss about to recognize all the different delusions, so that as long as we know that, then we know what to be abandoned and what to be eliminated. So as long as we challenge to eliminate the delusions, both the Buddha nature within us, naturally develop, and naturally, you bring into development, like that. So I will just go through the short notes, which is on the page 5. So yesterday, we roughly discussed about the 6 root delusions. Yeah. So let us start with the delusion of anger. Firstly, we mistakenly see our anger mind as existing innately within our mind. Innately within our mind. So that is misconception, and many of us, who don't, what I would say, many of us, what do you call that? Just accept that, just believe that anger and negative emotions are part of our mind, part of existing innately within our mind, So we don't have the awareness of thinking that anger arises, but angers are temporary, and angers are just not in the state of our not in our innate state of mind. So we need to have awareness whenever anger arises. At least in the first step, the first attempt is that the anger is just temporary. Anger is just not in a part of our mind. So therefore, it is not nature of my mind. So therefore, as long as that you reject to arise it, one can able to eliminate it. You see, and we don't do that. We just we don't even have an idea, of even a one moment of consideration whether that anger mind is, whether part of our mind or innate part of our mind, or it is just a temporary, kind of like obstruction. If we able to give a chance whenever anger arises, if we are able to allow ourselves to just to have a doubt in that, even though the doubt we talk so much about the force of doubt, but here at least if we able to pause one moment to check it out, it will help us to overcome the arising, the greater the degree of arising of anger. You see, so because of not doing that, then the moment the anger arises, it just takes as it's a part of me, part of my mind. Even though we don't say we don't think like that, but we subconsciously we kind of agree to that. You see, so it is wrong view to see the angry mind, attachment mind, and jealousy mind, all this afflicted mind as existing innately within our mind. It's a wrong view. You see, so we need to clear this wrong view. So how to clear it? We need to meditate. Otherwise, just heard one time, we may not able to remember when next time when anger arises in us. So before anger arises, then after knowing this, then we need to at least, every day at least for a few seconds or a few minutes, think within yourself, which is called meditation. That anger and the rest of the delusions are not part of my mind, not innate of my mind. And they are very temporal. They are just, gross. So so like that. At least, so that next time before anger arises, when anger about to arise, then this wisdom will come. This wisdom arises in our mind. If we say the delusion mind exists innately, it means that there is no difference between the delusion mind of anger and our fundamental consciousness. Our fundamental consciousness is actually Buddha nature, isn't it? So, if it's innate of our consciousness, then the anger also, need to have the characteristic to develop up to this state of omniscience. And anger don't have that characteristic. Anger may develop into the great anger, but anger have no ability to develop limitlessly, like how the virtuous mind, like a compassion, can be developed. You see. So again, this can be taken as reasoning to convince your mind. So you can take this as an analytical meditation. So analytical meditation, requires reasonings, to habituate one's mind very, very firmly. So this can be one of the reasons. So it means there is no difference between the angry mind and the clear-eyed mind. So the subtle consciousness, the fundamental consciousness, when we want to examine even deeper level, then it goes all the way up to the state of clear-eyed mind. So in fact, the absolute, the absolute nature, what we call absolute fundamental consciousness, in fact, is referring to the clear-eyed mind, the subtle mind. The continuum of the mind we now have, which will continue from the life to life, which came from beginningless life up to the present day, and which will travel up to enlightenment. So this clear-eyed mind is the subtlest state of our consciousness, or subtlest state of our subtle consciousness. So this is the what makes possibility of state of enlightenment, because it continues. Even though our physical identity may cease when we have the transition of life to death, but then there's one thing that which ever travel, and never ends, never cease, is the clear-eyed state of the mind, our subtle state of mind, which is the clear-eyed mind, or the subtle consciousness. It just continues ever, and it has been, exists. It is continue, has been exists, untraceable beginnings. So again, this can be a quite challenging topic, when we talk about untraceable, our beginning, the beginningless. So when we talk about beginningless, untraceable beginningless, is very much in the content of our ordinary, calculation. Not for the Buddha. Buddha can trace, because Buddha is omniscient. Why is omniscient? Omniscient of knowing entire past, entire present, entire future. So when you become Buddha, you won't ask this question. When my beginning began. Where is the pinpoint of, you always talk about beginningless. So it is something that one individual, when we awaken, then one can able to can see so clearly as like one small crystal ball put in the middle of your palm. Can almost see the entire dimension. You see. So, but then for us, the term we still need to use. This consciousness, the continuation of this consciousness came from beginningless lifetime. No choice. So if among us here, if there are any Buddhas, so please clarify to us. So even if you have some great clairvoyance also, you may not able to clarify this answer. So you really have to be Buddha. If there are any Buddha, please come up. Or you can just whisper, one to one to us during the break time. So yeah, yeah. So this clear-eyed mind, or the subtle consciousness, how it it is to understand this clearly is also, to understand the existence of life and rebirth. You see, and just by understanding, so understanding the clear light mind, understanding of the continuation of our subconsciousness, it helps. It is to understand, deeper level of our mind. By understanding deeper level of our mind, it helps us to understand the profundity of karma. How the profundity of karma functions, So in order for us to have a firm understanding on how the karma functions, then it's necessary for us to have a conviction of the existence of life and rebirth. You see, so in order to understand the existence of life and rebirth, then we need to understand how the clear light mind or this subtle consciousness, how it functions to continue. So when we examine that, many examiners, they try to understand on the basis of very last moment consciousness of this present life, how it connect, how it continue to the first moment consciousness of the newborn baby. You see, and that is hard. Even though in the scripture, philosophy scripture, the one of the way to examine the life and rebirth is very much on the basis of examining the continuation of consciousness, the last consciousness of the present old man, and first moment of consciousness of the newborn baby of his reincarnation in next life. But then that is hard. That is a wonderful way to examine, but it's hard. So taking that as kind of like idea, then we can examine, yes, last nights, before go to the last moment of the consciousness of before, we went to bed, and this very morning's first moment of consciousness of ourselves. How did the last night's consciousness continue up to this moments, this very morning's one's consciousness? How that is possible? It sounds like easy, but in fact it's quite complicated. And if we able to gain conviction of how the consciousness continues from last night to this morning within our own this same continuation of the body, then it is a similar technique, similar way, to prove that the last moment of the old man's consciousness really, possible of to be taken the continuation rebirth in the next life's the newborn child. You see, so and if that is even to analyze from the last night to this morning, even that is trouble, that is difficult. Then just last moment's consciousness within yourself, how that trouble, how that continuation trouble up to this very moment's consciousness in you. Because this very moment yourself is reincarnation of your previous moment of yourself. Because your previous moment didn't trouble, your previous moment itself didn't trouble up to this present moment. Because your previous moments is already past. It acted as a cause. The cause cannot born simultaneously with the result, isn't it? So since the cause cannot born simultaneously with the result, then the previous moment of self is already past. Previous moment of self, previous moment of one's consciousness in that self is also past. So but yet in this present moment it exists, and this present moment, the consciousness within this present moment also exists. And where this consciousness came from? So the only thing is, it came from the previous moment, because there are so many memories are there, so many fresh, if we don't kind of examine deeply, it as if there's not even a gap between the previous moment and the present moment. As if the thought that what you have, memory that you have, as if it's always has been right very now. But in fact, there's a very, very short, the moments which we cannot even detect by our gross mind and gross cognition. We cannot even detect, and there's already the millions of momentaries are already past, and yet the memories are freshly exist. How that is possible, and that is possible because of the storage of memory. It continues, and that storage of memory is not in the physical form. The storage of memory, in fact, in mental form, and that mental form is the subconsciousness. And that subconsciousness, does not bother or needed to rely on the changes of the gross mind and the gross physical aggregates. The consciousness freshly travel when we are at the young, and even at the time when we are old. Physically, physical aggregates are completely exhausted, but then the subconsciousness, subtle consciousness, travel freshly even then, and it just continues like that, up to this life after life, you see. So I think to understand to gain full conviction through reasoning, not just believing, not just Buddha says so, or not just Buddhist says so. The life and rebirth exists, but to really to gain a conviction in your heart through reasoning, then examining the how the continuation of consciousness travel from past moment to present moment of your within yourself, then that you expand how the consciousness from yesterday travel to today, then you gain a full conviction in that such is exist. Then examine how last year's your consciousness they continue up to this year. Then then you go back all the way back since a little kid. The continuation of your little kid's consciousness is continuously continuing in this old age body. So then that very old age coming to the last day of this life, there's no doubt that it will continue to the next life and through the intermediate state, and not necessarily through the intermediate state, because like let's say if you take a rebirth in the formless realm, within the sixth realm, in order to take rebirth in the form realm, then yes, we need to go through the intermediate state. But if we take rebirth in the formless realms, like formless God realms, or formless spirit realms, formless preta realms, then the moment the consciousness from this human body, the clear light consciousness, depart from this very life's undestructible drop, then instantly take rebirth in the formless realms, or take rebirth within the preta realms, formless preta realms. So then not even need to go through the intermediate state. So, but then that's why, as I mentioned before, the continuation of the subtle consciousness does not bother or does not dependent on the healthy body or the physical aggregates. It just continues forever. It continues, endlessly continues, and that consciousness, can be is ever awakened, but is not necessarily awakened in that person who is possessing that consciousness. If that person is not purified of the hallucinations, not purified the obscuration, the defilement, then the consciousness is not awakened. If that consciousness is taken in the rebirth of someone who is totally purified of all the defilements, and that consciousness is fully awakened. You see. So, and this consciousness can be fully awakened within this very seat, while holding this contaminated body. As long as one's consciousness is gain total freedom from all the hallucinations. That's why, enlightenment is possible right this very moment on this very cushion. And the only matter whether it's awakened or not awakened is just a matter of the clearance of the cloud, the cloudy defilement. So it's so similar like a sky. A sky is always clear. The only thing that we cannot see clear sky because we are underneath the cloud. That's why we cannot see the clear sky. But those who are on top of the cloud, and the sky is still the same, you see. So therefore, enlightenment is possible within this problematic body. Enlightenment is possible as long as we are able to manage to clear all the cloud of delusions and defilements. You see, so like that. Okay. Okay. So anyway, just go through the this note. Secondly, we need to check. So before going to that, like just now that how to analyze the continuation of our consciousness, it is very important. It is something that we need to bring into one of the subject into our meditation. Otherwise, otherwise. The conviction in believing in rebirth, conviction in believing in karma, conviction in even believing in the enlightenment is possible is very fragile. It's very superficial. It's not like from depth of your heart. So what we need to gain is from depth of your heart, and with that conviction from depth of your heart, the conviction in karma, conviction in rebirth, conviction in possibility of enlightenment will make your spiritual journey, extraordinary, extra yummy. It is like that. So it's like, how to say, yeah. So otherwise, it's like it's not really kind of it's effective in our day-to-day life whenever you encounter spiritual practice, whenever you do practice. But then spiritually, they subconsciously like somehow cannot connect, cannot touch. You see. So then it's like how to say, floating balloon. Wherever the wind blows, then it just go like that. There's no kind of steadfast direction in our spiritual life. You see, so those masters of the past, like Indian pandits and great Tibetan Mahasiddhas, there are many, but a few of them, you have heard, like including like Milarepa and there's so many other great Kadamba masters. Why they are able to achieve a state of full enlightenment within one lifetime, and why they're able to go through, why they're able to overcome, in any challenges in their spiritual way, especially to the mind. You see, it's because of they have already gained, innate confirmation about the existence of life and rebirth, existence of the karmic law, cause and effect. They already established the sincere, reasoning confirmation in their heart that enlightenment is definitely possible, so like that. For us is, for you I don't know, but for me sometimes, like whenever delusion arises, they say, oh, maybe enlightenment is not possible, it's too far. Or sometimes how much you practice, then still troubles are coming in your way, and you feel like, it seems like the Buddha's blessings, the effect of practice is actually nothing there, and even when you hear the teaching, when you read the sutras, like it's always called so powerful, so so effective. And yes, when a good time, yes, sounds like so effective and so beneficial, But then when the sickness comes, when some obstacle comes in your way, then there's some kind of doubt start to arise. Maybe just bluffing, all these things, maybe not true, or just to comfort your ear, then you start to say, I rather depend on doctor, why I need to depend on triple gem, rather I should focus on this life to enjoy, why I need to do so much things, something which is hoping for sometime in the next lifetime, which may not possible, that kind of thing. So you see, all this doubt will come if we didn't gain the conviction through reasoning and through meditation. And so if we have that kind of shakeable heart, then our spiritual journey will be very, very long. If we have definite conviction in these understandings, then in course of your life, that your aspiration will never decrease. You see, so like that. So secondly, we need to check and see whether this deluded mind of anchor is the same nature as our clear-eyed mind or not. So again, we need to meditate, we need to analyze. Same nature with the mind that troubled from beginning, as like time up to now, same nature or not. If it's same nature, then, the fundamental nature of our mind has to be in the nature of impatientness. But in fact, fundamental our nature mind is moistured with moistured with love and compassion. If we really examine carefully, our fundamental nature of mind is in fact is a moistured, not a dry like anger. It's a moistured with, you see, even the affection in the ordinary people like us, you have affection, even without knowing Dharma, even without interpreting from the spiritual perspective, just as a being, there's a natural affection from mother to child, or affection, from yourself to partner. Even the attachment itself is regarded as the significant proof that our nature of mind actually is a nature in the compassionate, love and compassionate nature. So of course the attachment become a desirous, afflicting attachment. Then of course it will become delusional. But why we have a sense of attraction to someone, why we have a sense of liking to someone, why we have a sense of emotion, You know, when someone praise you, you melt your heart. You know why you have that. You know, when someone scold you, you feel hurt your heart. Why you felt that? You know, because you have a very soft, gentle, mustard. I can only use this word, so you can interpret what I mean. Mustard, very, very yummy mustard. You know, so even having that emotion itself is a proof that our nature of mind, in fact, lies in the gentleness, you know, kindness, love, compassion. You know, you see. So I think in Sibu Chugi Tenzin, one of our great Kadamba master, in the commentary of the Lojong teaching, in mind training teaching, you know, he said that we ordinary being having a mind attachment itself is a proof that we have the nature of kind and love and compassion. You see, so it's not a bad thing, you know, that we love someone. It's a very good thing. It's already a proof that the innate of us is something is very marvelous. You see, so therefore the disturbing emotion like anger or this, there's no opportunity to be the innate nature of mind. It's not possible like that. But we need to examine, we need to check, you know, we need to check it out. We need to really breathe deeply and not open our eye outside and look outside, but look within deeply. Then amazing discovery will be able to discover, and that journey of discovery can be blissful discovery. It can be exciting discovery. You see, so your morning, if you wish to go for some kind of excursion, if you can, you know, take a half an hour time in the morning, you know, every day you go for excursion internally, it can be very exciting. You know, every day you can go for holiday, you know, exciting holidays inside without spending money, without needing to book hotel, needed to fly the aeroplane. So that's how the meditators enjoy their life. You know, meditators are always in holiday. Because every single moment, you know, they just go deeper and deeper excursion. Did I say it right word? Excursion? Yes. You know, like that. So the angry mind is mind play. So now think, if the angry mind is the same nature as fundamental mind that we possess life after life, that means whenever the mind exists, it should exist in the manner of anger and hatred. So you see, love and kindness and compassion, when you examine deeply in our mental, you know, subconsciousness, you know, you will come to a point that in fact they are lively exist there. You know, the only thing we never kind of thought about that is because, you know, our gross mind, what we usually recognize is the function of gross mind, and our gross minds are very much dominated by the delusions. So due to that, we think that our true nature of mind or our subconscious mind is like as if like totally empty. You know, if we want to regard this, you know, the anger is not lies in the innate nature of our subconscious mind, then we also, you know, almost come to a point that then love and compassion also shouldn't be exist there as an innate form of our subconscious mind. You know, because our gross mind don't see that is happening. You know, we need to cultivate to express the love and compassion in our mind. But in fact, it's innately exist. It exists in a part of our subconscious mind, love and kindness and compassion. You know, but not anger. not anger, not attachment, not ignorant. All the delusions, no. You see. How to really experience that innate existence of all the virtuous mind in our subconscious innate mind is through meditation. But then by engaging in meditation, discovering the virtuous mind in the innate state of our subconscious mind, then eventually our gross mind also will be familiar with that, and so that in our gross mind also can able to live in the arising of those virtuous mind. You see. So and that is also a process of developing our mind. The more that you meditate like that, the more that you discover, that's existence of, all the virtuous mind, like compassion in our innate subconscious mind. If you do 1, 2 more, 3 more times, it start to be so normal, existent in our day-to-day life, in our mind. You see. So because of doing such meditation, then so-called as gain paths and grounds, and eventually even become fully awakened. So yesterday, one of the brother talking about Tara's story, the Mother Tara, she become Tara. She was given this title because of through her habituation, which is meditate, through her habituation in virtuous mind, and through that habituation she discovered, all the like a compassion, virtuous mind, like compassion, loving kindness, and including altruism is it's just simply part of your mind. It is not something that need to bring from somewhere else, And without even herself, her gross mind realizing that, renaming that, I cut and paste, this compassion into my mind, like that, not like that. It's just she simply be mindful of that kindness. She acted in accordance with the kindness, loving kindness, compassion. Maybe in the initial level, it's just simply with much effort, but then eventually it becomes effortless. Eventually it becomes just function without any kind of even necessary to be aware of it. It's effortless without aware. She just function in that manner because that is her innate nature. You see. So because of that, then you see, the Buddhas have even offered a title you call as a Tara, because she conducted, she fully utilized her innate nature as a tool to, benefit herself and benefit others. But in our case, in our case, similar level. As long as we meditate, as long as we as long as we put some effort, then eventually it becomes effortless. But eventually we can become Tara. Everybody can become Tara. So like that. Okay. So let's look at how this angry mind arises. The angry mind is where one's mind consciousness is overwhelmed by overemphasizing the negative aspect of the person or situation. You see, overemphasizing. You see, so this is the nature of all the negative minds, negative emotions. It has its own quality of always overemphasizing, exaggerating. When we let the very first moment of impatience arises in our heart, and that impatience mind will naturally, start to exaggerate, start to, overemphasize the negativities of the situation or object. So therefore, as a practitioner, as someone that who do not wish to suffer under the influence of like anger and the rest of the negative emotion, from very first, whenever there's a sign appear in our mind, in our conscious, of this negative emotion, immediately we have to eliminate it. So such like in the 8 verses, this morning we read, there's one verse, vigilant, the 3rd verse, vigilant the moment the delusion appear in our mind, endanger myself and others, I shall confront and avert it without delay. So this is the one. So we have to. so this is what we need. So we take lightly of the arising on the negative emotions. We say it's all right, it's very small, it's minor, I'll be all right. No, we cannot do that. If it's minor, okay, then this is my opportunity to eliminate it. If it becomes great, then maybe it's difficult. Now it's minor, so therefore immediately I have to eliminate. So who can help you to do again mindfulness and introspection is the one that can help us. Always help us. You see, so introspection already will play a role of antidote. When you see even a slight sign of anger arise, will alert the mindfulness to make sure that you focus on patience. You focus on seeing only the faults of impatientness or anger, and you focus only the qualities of patience. You see, so as long as your mind is fully under the guidance of mindfulness to focus, the right focus, then there's no opportunity, the intrusion of the anger into your heart. So it's like that. For example, why you get so angry at someone when whom you regard as an enemy, because you exaggerate the negative qualities of the person. More than that, the amount of the fault that the other person has, give the label enemy. It could be that person, punch you just once, but the incident get, aggravated, overemphasized, and extra projection is placed onto the person's thinking that punch you because had a mind to kill you. Like even just simple punching, but then your mind thinks that the punching is actually meant to kill you. Maybe the punching is meant to give you a good massage, But then because of the mind of impatientness, then just interpret into is a killing. Maybe that person just want to give you a nice massage. Who knows? You see, so like that. But the extra negative label of he wanted to kill me was fixed, through your own negative, because of the impatient mind. That's how hatred gets generated. Your mind might run even further to think that last year I gave him a dumpling, so that, and he thought that he thought that dumpling, and he thought that okay, maybe the English wrong, I have no idea. So then, because I use this word because this one I did a session in Kuala Lumpur, so over there they eat a lot of dumpling. So I use the example of dumpling. Yeah. So maybe here you're going to use pizza or burger. I heard Brisbane has, Queensland or Brisbane has a very, very unique burger. Isn't it? Very special, isn't it? No?
Grilled.
Oh.
Grilled.
This is a very big one.
Yes.
Yes, this is very special of Brisbane. Okay. So maybe, yeah. So, Okay, so anyway, don't. However, if we say that one angry mind is one's fundamental consciousness, is to know different, it means that this hatred mind should exist whenever your mind exists. So, so anyway, whether we use a dumpling or burger, it's just a simply example of, when our mind is negative, then everything seems negative, and not only is everything seems negative, but then over exaggerated negative. So therefore, that's the reason why we, from the very first moment, even a slight sight of negative emotion, negative emotion want to intrude in our mind, we have, without any choice, we have to, how to say, what you call, protect our mind through intrusion. Otherwise, it will only, what you call, magnify the negativities. It will overwhelm with the extensive negativities. You see, so no question about how much karma we commit, but even just not rejecting the intrusion of that negativity itself is a very painful experience. Very, very, very hurtful experience, and not only to yourself, but also in danger of causing harm, or even if it's the anger arises within the community, then your anger, your negative energy of anger in your heart will contaminate people around us. You see, and if anger within the family, then even though you are so angry, you're so upset with something, but you also contaminate the rest of your family, and especially if they are like a young infants, young children, then like as a parent or as an adult, if we generate like anger, impatience, those then naturally kind of what you call, contaminate your negative energy into them, and then the children sometimes in their life somehow it's like the nature become very, very, very easy to get angry like that, you see. So therefore, for the benefit of oneself and for the benefit of others, any form of negativity, particularly anger, in particularly the negative emotion of anger, that in any cause, we just have to control. Normally the word of suppression maybe is not so attractive word, but as far as concerned with negative emotion, then if we cannot eliminate, even needed to suppress in our heart, even how much suffocation you feel, it's still more beneficial to suppress it. You see, if you just, there are people saying that, let it express and you will be all right. Since it's in your heart, then you don't hold on it, don't hold it, express it. Then you will be relieved, you will be okay. But as far as concerned with negative emotions, no, it doesn't work like that. As far as the negative emotion, if we let to express one moment, one time, it will intensify. It will intensify, it will familiarize your mind to generate more and more such negative emotion again and again. So the best way is to suppress, if possible, eliminate. So it is a huge responsibility, since we live in a community, we live in especially those who have families, and especially those who have young young children. Then, as a parent, among all the delusions, I think the anger is one of the most destructive. Not just said in the Dharma teaching, not like what Shantideva has. The entire Buddhist Acharya 6th chapter is all about talking about the faults of anger. So in all scriptures, entire scriptures, anger is regarded the most destructive negative emotion, most destructive emotion, destructive negative emotion. So So we just, as a Buddhist practitioner, of course, while we are training in the path, we cannot be perfected. But one thing, the anger is just have to control. It never let it express. So as I mentioned before, if you have a children, then your angry energy, it will implant the seed in them, for them to have a very impatient nature, you see, and so like that. So, yeah. That means our conventional nature of mind shouldn't, let's say, if we say that one's angry mind is one's fundamental consciousness, fundamental consciousness is no different, it means that hatred mind should exist whenever our mind exists. That means our conventional true nature of mind shouldn't even have the single moment of calm and peace. You see, to our fundamental consciousness, the nature is, calm, luminous, clarity. The mind of anger is unclear, unease, very disturbing. There's no peace, no calm. Then our subconscious mind is nature lies in the peace, calmness and clarity, so like that. So in short, if this angry mind is the same nature as that of our fundamental conventional mind, then it means our mind is in the nature of never being calm and never being peaceful. So again, when we talk about ourselves being peaceful, being calm, without meditation, we are just simply talking about based on our gross mind. Our gross mind. When our gross minds are free from negative emotions, then our gross minds are like peace, calm. But then here we are talking about the fundamental, the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is ever free of disturbance, ever calm, ever peace, So therefore, the conventional true nature of mind, which is totally different from the afflicted mind of the six delusions, the true nature of the conventional mind is the nature of clarity and cognition. So that is the definition of the true nature of mind: clarity and cognition. The mind which is clear, it is innate, is clear of all the destructive emotions. Able to knowing all the qualities of the mind, such as all the way, the qualities of omniscience, qualities of knowing all the nature of the phenomena. You see, so that is the power of our clear mind, and power of our subtle consciousness. The nature of mind has the foundation of improvement, through clearing all the defilement, the obscurations, and can be truly awakened, So you see, so once we start to train our mind, our mind's nature itself is in the nature of improvement. You see, so training our mind is very much about. It's not like the clear mind itself is needed to be trained. The training here is, just clearing the disturbing emotion which very much lies in our gross, in our gross mind, or even if there are, a slightly subtle state of imprint of those negative emotions, but which is still not in the innate nature of the subtle consciousness. So training our mind in order to awaken our mind is not about needed to train the already in the state of Buddha nature. It is very much about, the destructive, the external destructive emotions. As long as we clear that, then what you call our consciousness will be fully awakened. We'll utilize it into fully awakened state. So what is meant by the foundation of improvement? It means something where upon our putting in effort to it, improvement and even perfection because of become possible. Perfection in all the knowledge and qualities. So when our mind has the foundation of improvement, it means that when we put in effort to purify the afflicted mind, it can develop positive qualities such as compassion, loving kindness, bodhicitta, and wisdom realizing emptiness. So and this foundation is not limited like the physical form, which that if you train your body from jumping, one is still not able to jump more than 100 meters. So even in the philosophy treatise, they give example of basically just giving a few simple example of the developing our mind. Talking about training our mind, the mind has a limit to train, but it's not like a physical body. And not only physical body, even the negative emotions, have limitations to be how to say? I don't know whether it's the right way to use develop or not. Even the negative emotion like anger, how much it increases, there's a limitation. The greater extent of anger, but then not like the subtle consciousness which can be developed up to the omniscient state. The negative afflicted mind also has a limitation, because if you want, it's already here, so I shouldn't talk. I just read. The negative afflicted mind also has a limitation, because even if you want to try to develop negative emotion, there is no way of achieving real development or perfection. Similarly, if you train in attachment, although attachment might increase, the mind is not moving nearer to the perfection. However, because one has a Buddha nature, one's clear light, subtle mind is stable, it becomes possible to purify affliction and develop virtues such as loving kindness, compassion, wisdom, realizing emptiness, and in ultimate way. This is how one is able to obtain the state of perfection, which is the omniscient mind. We ordinary beings who presently possess all six root delusions and 20 secondary defilements and many other zillions of defilements. And once that is purified, then one can able to actualize the state of full enlightenment. So later, maybe I will, maybe next session, I think we need to go through a little bit of the 20 secondary afflicted emotion. Okay, so it's been quite a messy session. Okay, thank you. So we go for tea.